So Ryan,
Yes.
there's so much, dude. There's so much. I want to start here with you.
Mhm.
I'm a little frustrated with the recruiting class, with the timing overlapping with the CFP, because there should be so much shine on that recruiting class, but we're all so worried about this. You can't really fully freely dive into what that class is and what it means. Do you feel what I'm saying?
I I mean, yes. I mean, I was covering National Signing Day, and I know National Signing Day's kind of lost its luster a little bit comparative to what it used to be now with like everything going on and the NIL space, and now there's a second signing day that no one actually uses. Like it's lost its luster. But I mean, I know someone said it earlier, John. 27 commits, none of them decommitted throughout the class, obviously, right? So you had zero
Yeah.
decommitments. I'll give you one further. There was 28 official visitors this past offseason that came to Notre Dame on their dime. 27 of them committed to Notre Dame. The only one that didn't was a tight end that they didn't have room for anymore, and they kind of were just like, "Hey, if you want to come, great." It was Evan Jacobson that I think signed with Texas A&M. They're like, "If you want to come, great, but we're not going to really pursue you because we have Ian Premer and we have
Yeah.
Preston Frizel. Like, we just don't necessarily need a third tight end in this class, but you can come if you want." So, yeah, man. It's the best. It's the best it's the best recruiting class probably since the early 90s. You know what I mean? Like, it is
Yeah.
a phenomenal class. But
Yeah.
I think the fact is, and I talked about this a little bit on a video this week, kind of getting back to the initial point, to have no decommitments in this era is insane. Like, and we don't talk about that enough. In the world of NIL and Hayes Fawcett's on Twitter saying flip season, not having a single decommitment when you had all your kids committed before the 2025 college football season started, and you had to wait and hold on for months to solidify this class. Testament to Marcus Freeman and his staff. They identified the right kids, they closed on the right kids, and they held on to them, which is crazy in this era.
Yep, it's a really, really, really good job. I think, Ryan, this kind of class is what people envisioned Freeman building here. It was like when he started, you were like low on experience. He's going to have to learn as he goes, but you know the recruiting should be strong to like make up for some of that while he gets his career gets his feet under him.
Yep.
Dude, Ryan, you're looking at it and you're how many Notre Dame fans of this era would ever thought at signing day you'd be ahead of teams like Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama? And that USC ranking is a little iffy with how many guys they took and how many 3 stars and everybody else. Like
Yep.
this is a legitimately elite class and not here's the other part, Ryan.
Yes.
How many times have you covered these Notre Dame classes and people talk about something being a good class for Notre Dame? You know what I mean? That little caveat of
Yeah.
like, for Notre Dame, that's a really good class. There is none of that label. It's just elite
Yep.
now. It's just elite
It's just
now.
a very it's a great point. It's just a very good elite level class, no matter who it is. And
Yep.
I remember when I first started working in like the Notre Dame space on the recruiting side, and people used to ask all the time, will Notre Dame ever be able to get a number one class in a recruiting cycle? Right. And like they came pretty close this year, right? Like they were consensus top 5 across the board.
Yep.
But the answer at that point was like, probably not. Like probably not. Like your standards were set lower because Brian Kelly had a couple good classes, but the problem with Kelly's classes were he would have a couple elite players and then he would miss certain positions altogether, or he'd only recruit one guy in a defensive line class or like something like that, right? Where it's just like, in order for a class to be truly great, not only do you need that elite talent at the top, but you need to be able to hit all of your numbers and all of your needs across the board. And I mean, Notre Dame could go play a football game tomorrow with their 2027 recruiting class, all 11 on both sides of the football, and then hit special teams as well. Like it's really is a tremendous mark. And then that's not even counting, I know I mentioned the 27, but obviously, Teddy Gerard, the 2027 quarterback commit, is going through that whole process of
Yep.
reclassifying potentially, right? So, yeah, man, it's pretty crazy, just the whole scenario and where we've come in just a few years. And Marcus Freeman keeps setting the bar higher on the recruiting side of things, and he keeps going over top of it, right? Like I feel like we're at a high jump pit at track and field where it's just like, nope, keep going. Let's go to 6'8". Let's go to 6'8". Oh, 7 foot. Let's do
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
it's great times, man. Great times on the recruiting side.
Here's the other thing that I think about with this dynamic. When the
Mhm.
news broke that Chad was going to learn how to surf and was going out west,
Yep.
Notre Dame had some decisions to make. Do you want to find another Chad, a guy who thinks and operates kind of that way? Or do you want to kind of get in a more modern direction, a more kind of
Mhm.
professional and polished way to approach roster building, construction, NIL allocation, how you manage your team? They took a little bit of a risk with Martin going with an NFL guy, bringing him in, and Carter and these guys. Man, it looks like that turned up aces. I mean, whatever they did and
Yeah.
how they rearranged it, if Notre Dame gambled a little going a different way, so far the results are A plus. What do you make of that? The nuts and bolts of that operation now?
I think the part that we haven't even been able to find out about with Mike Martin and just kind of his staff overall is obviously the recruiting is first and foremost, but Mike Martin as the general manager is dealing with the portal stuff too, right? And I think that's
Mhm.
actually where his background is going to help us potentially the most because we don't even know what his portal haul is going to be this year, next year, because he's obviously on the professional lens, so he understands more like what a really good college football player looks like, a guy that maybe
Mhm.
is going to be an NFL draft pick, and so on and so forth. So I think that professional eye is going to help a lot in the transfer portal side of things, especially. So we haven't even gotten the full scope of Mike Martin. I think that the great thing about Martin comparative to the rest, because Chad was much more like glitz and he liked to do those little events where they're in like the leprechaun uniforms and they pat dudes down
Yeah,
with FBI outfits and like all that. Like he'd like to do like cute little things, right? Like the recruiting
yeah.
stuff, which some 16,
Goolsby,
17 year olds like. But
Ryan,
yeah.
Goolsby holds that leprechaun outfit against him. Everything we do on Patreon, Mike will be like, "Oh, you mean all we got to do is dress like leprechauns in the parking lot? We'll land a top class." Like he can't stand
Well,
that leprechaun outfit. Leave that to
well,
me on Halloween. All right.
right. And I mean, Chad did obviously a lot of great things in Notre Dame, and he's doing some good things at USC as well right now. But I do think that there was the only thing that rubbed me wrong with Chad was his on his way out, and I'm not even talking about like some of the things he spoke about on like the media
Yeah.
side and stuff when he first got there. Like he did some things behind the scenes that really did rub me the wrong way on
He
his exit, which is just
overdid
very
it.
unfortunate. But yeah,
He overdid it. And some of it was like this vaguely passive aggressive, but it's kind of not passive. And you could read right through it. And if you knew what you were looking for, you knew it was a shot at Notre Dame. Like that's the stuff he was doing. I almost would have respected a direct shot rather than some of the little cute games he played. So,
yeah.
hey, Notre Dame's in a good spot. Is anybody sitting
I,
here crying because Chad's hanging 10? I don't see it.
uh, no, not right now. I mean, I think it's a really nice balance because Mike Martin is the older, kind of has that professional feel to him, right? But then you have
Yeah.
the younger recruiting staff with Carter and those guys. But
Yeah.
then you also have Myron Tungavaloa Amosa, who also was a Notre Dame player, right? Who's in the office now. So like you have a lot of different vantage points, which I think is important. So
Yeah.
whether a player gravitates towards the past player's perspective, he gravitates towards the professional perspective, he gravitates towards the modern college recruiting side perspective. Notre Dame has everybody in their department now that can appeal to, I think, everybody, which is great.
That's a very, very good point. Very well rounded where you can reach everybody. Parents, coaches, relate to the
Mm-hmm.
players, have all of that across the board. Here's something else I
Well,
want to ask you.
that John, just to say real quick, like that's why Freeman is such a great recruiter too, right? Because he is a parent. He has 6 kids, so like he can relate to the parents there. But
Mhm.
he's also young enough though, where like he can relate to the kids.
Yep.
Like he understands some of the modern music and stuff like that. Some of the weird TikTok things they want to do. Some of the dances. Like he gets
Yeah.
some of that stuff too, right? So I think that's the good balance, just in general, of even just Coach Freeman as a person as well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the other thing too. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. I think college
Mhm.
football is going to gradually turn into more of a young man's game coaching because of you got to have the right mentality to be dealing with the kids having more power than they've ever had and be comfortable with that.
Yep.
And it's never ending. It's always been an everyday job. Now it's more than ever. It's either portal season, recruiting season, or the season. And there's no break. Like I think it is going to turn maybe more into a younger man's game. What I wanted to ask you is
Mhm.
how much do you think having all these NFL players want their kids to come play for Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman matters? To me, that is a huge vote of confidence when you have guys that know what a good operation looks like and a bad operation looks like, and they want
Yep.
their kids to play here. I love that. Love it.
Well, what I think it was Coach Freeman in his, I forget if it was Freeman or if it was Martin in their press conference, the signing day press conference, where one of them said that Larry Fitzgerald was selling Notre Dame bigger than they were when Devin first visited Notre Dame. You know what I mean? Like that stuff I think matters tremendously. I mean, that backing, because obviously Notre Dame has some powerful and very fortunate alumni, right, on like that side of the thing. But to have
Mhm.
so many former NFL players back the program, I think is huge. You know, like these kids are younger, obviously, like 16, 17 years old, but like they still know who Jerome Bettis is, you know, like they still
Yeah.
know who Larry Fitzgerald is, obviously. Like they still know these guys. If not, their parents obviously know these people, right? So I think that
Yeah.
helps tremendously. It also gives you a validation of there's a pathway to get there. You know, like you talk about a Joey O'Brien wanting to come play at Notre Dame. And obviously, Kyle Hamilton's a big selling point for him being a 6'4 safety. But I mean, you don't have to just settle on Kyle Hamilton. You could say, hey, you know, we also have this guy named Harrison Smith. We also have this guy named Julian Love. Like, we're doing really well professionally in several different areas. And I think that the more great professionals on every side that you can bring in front of these kids, I think that it is a huge selling point for sure.
Yeah. And then Ryan, Goolsby always tells me like he wants to film the X's and O's, the bodies, that kind of stuff. That's his lane, what he loves. And I'm more
Right.
the administrative guy, the feel guy, the vibes guy, the fan guy. And so it's a really weird blend. And I always talk about this with Mike. For the
Mm-hmm.
first time in my cognizant Notre Dame life, it feels like everyone involved is pulling in the same direction. I
Yeah.
feel everything like that alignment that keeps getting talked about. A lot of that talk with LSU and the SEC coaching searches, that alignment. You got a young, modern coach everybody loves, respects, wants to get things done for, treats people the right way. Your NIL thing's going in the right way. The administration wants to work with Freeman. You have a younger ish president, Priest now, and
Mm-hmm.
an AD that aligns with Freeman. For the first time since I've been doing this, everything is lined up in the right way to support this. That is a big damn deal because nothing gets done in Notre Dame unless those things all line up. It's unique in that way.
And the more success that Coach Freeman has, even more they're going to give him the grace to do more, right? And the more say in certain things because it is a little bit of a I don't want to say power struggle, but like that power dynamic of having to appease your bosses in different areas, right? Like that is a that is an early portion of a employment where you have to like figure out what you can do, what you can't do, and what you have to build to do in order to gain that trust, you know? And now
Yeah.
that we've seen some on-field success, now that you've seen the recruiting success consistently, and I think more than anything, and this is a shot at Brian Kelly, so you can take it as a shot at Brian Kelly, 100%. Brian Kelly did not work hard enough. He didn't work hard enough. It's easy to trust people like Marcus Freeman when you see the grind that dude puts in every single day. He wants to be the lead recruiter for everyone. Now, obviously, he can't do that because of time and he has to trust some of his assistant coaches, but whether they win, lose, have a bad performance, a great performance, or anything in between, I trust that it's not out of a lack of efforts, right? Like there was
Yep.
no lack of effort there. And it's so funny just hearing now all the horror stories of Kelly down in Baton Rouge and everything now of like the same stories that we were telling for a long time of like, the guy just doesn't grind, man. I mean, I remember when I was at Irish Breakdown, we had Tom Lemming, who's the
He
recruiting
does
guru, come on
grind,
the show.
Ryan. He
Oh,
grinds
yeah, he
on
grinds.
recruits.
That's like grinding he does on the recruiting trail, man. But literally, Tom said, John, he said, my favorite quote he ever said was, he didn't even, nobody even brought Brian Kelly up. He was comparing Marcus Freeman to Brian Kelly, and he said, Brian Kelly was great in the room if you could ever get him in the room, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the difference is that you never have
Yeah.
to ask where Coach Freeman is, where the accountability is.
Yeah.
How is a player going to be accountable to come in and work every single day if their coach doesn't come in to work every single day? That's the difference we're seeing now.
Man, very, very well spoken. And it's a 1-2 punch for me. The combo of not working hard enough with rubbing people the wrong way interpersonally is a very dangerous 1-2 punch. Like if you're not going to be the hardest worker and you don't treat people exactly the right way, that's going to catch up with you, especially at a place like Notre Dame. So, Ryan, I want to ask this. Anything else on the recruiting class before I want to ask you about how you think this weekend's going to go?
No, I mean, just obviously, just keep an eye out for the Teddy Gerard stuff. Obviously, that's been put into motion as far as him joining the 2026 class. But otherwise, I mean, John, like, there's going to be a lot of news for the 2027 class over the next couple months. Like,
Mhm.
it's one of those things where you space news out a little bit, right? So you don't want to guys lose their lure and their luster amidst hopefully a playoff run and all that type of stuff. But Notre Dame is off to a great start in 2027 as well, and there's no reason to believe that the recruiting impact won't continue.
That's man, you are you are trending in the right direction in this program, whether you make this damn field or not. So Ryan, what mind space are you in this weekend? Very uncomfortable place to be. It's our fault we're here. We all acknowledge that. But it is a uniquely uncomfortable weekend ahead of us. What do you make of it?
I mean, I've been talking about it a lot. Funny enough, I actually had on Wednesday morning, I had a current player's parents called me and asked me my opinion on the playoff format and all this stuff that's happening, like all these hypotheticals that we're dealing with, right? The BYU one's the easy one, right? Like, can Texas Tech beat BYU to not even have that a part of the conversation? When it comes to the Alabama Notre Dame thing, and I actually think somebody said this a couple callers ago, I can't remember who it was, but they said something that I agree with. I do think that while moving Alabama up to number 9 was a help and a protection to Alabama, I think that there's more layers to just that than what meets the eye. I do think that that's a potential buffer for Notre Dame as well if Alabama does lose, because in last year's playoffs, it's tough because we only have one sample size of a 12-team playoff, right? Like, we don't
Mhm.
know, we don't have like 10 years of data on this thing. But every conference loser from last year moved down a spot. Every single one, right? So if Alabama loses, they might just be the outlier where they're like, no, no, it was a close game, keeping you at 9, whatever. Or they flip it back and it's Notre Dame 9, Alabama 10, and that protects you from even that annoying Miami conversation. Because I actually think, and I could be completely wrong here, but I think the Notre Dame Miami thing's already decided. I think it's decided already. I
Yeah.
don't think that they're going to jump Notre Dame. I do not think. Even if they go 10 and 11 back to back, where apparently it matters more, right? Like, I feel like we're doing an SEC commercial again. Like, oh, it matters more. Sure. Okay. It matters more, the head to head, whatever. It's supposed to be baked into the formula already. The four
Yeah.
criteria, and someone mentioned it already: the head to head, the common opponents, strength of schedule, and then anything player coach related that could hurt your product on the field, a la Jordan Travis getting hurt a few years ago for Florida State. All those things are already baked in. So I'm led to believe, after a week of no games between these two teams, no new data points, no new information, that they're like, no, Miami deserves it now. I think that would have happened last week. Like, I would think it would have happened on Tuesday night if that was the situation that we're going to see on Sunday. I choose to give this committee, and I don't give the committee a lot of grace, but I'm going to give them grace on this one situation. Alabama moved up. A lot of people were pissed off about it. I understand why you were pissed off about it, whatever. But at least there was a game that happens. At least there was information that was drawn in. We can debate of like, hey, dude, Auburn sucks. I don't care if you had to go into Jordan Hare and beat them. Like,
Yeah.
they still suck. We can have that debate. But this weekend, there is no new information you're getting from Notre Dame or Miami to make this jump happen now. So I think it would have happened before today if it was going to happen at all.
That's kind of logically where I want to be. But to be there, you have to trust the committee to maintain philosophical consistency. And I'm just not sure any of us do after what we've seen out of these type of groups before. Because I understand what you're saying is totally logical. Like, if you were going to make that move and argue it, it was last week when they're both done playing. It isn't Sunday. So I don't know, man. It's
Maybe they're
really,
just
really
prolonging
stressful.
it. Maybe they're prolonging it, John, so that we can just make Miami fans as upset as possible. Maybe that's the ploy here. But
Oh.
obviously that's a joke. But like, I don't see how logically a committee, and I understand, I agree, they are not always consistent at all. But
Mhm.
can a committee that has coaches on there and everything really sit down and say, hey guys, that thing we made last week, throw it completely out. Like, it doesn't matter. That whole conversation we had, it's void. Why? Why, coach? Why is it void? Well, we're getting backlash on Twitter. What do you mean we're getting
Yeah.
backlash on Twitter? You know you're gonna get backlash on Twitter if you jump Notre Dame this week after talking about head to head for the entire season and you still didn't make the jump happen, right? Like these teams have had 2 losses seemingly forever. They've had a lot of common opponents, and now you're gonna do it now. I'm
Man,
choosing to trust logic at this
you're
point. I'm choosing.
making way too much sense. And that is what is making me like have more anxiety, because it makes total sense what you're saying. Like, there is a pro Notre Dame or a pro Miami argument that like could make sense, but they have not run with that. They haven't pushed it. They haven't prioritized it. Like, there is a way to do this to where Notre Dame people could be mad, but understand Miami's ahead of you. That is not the path they've chose to go down philosophically. So to change it a month later at the 11th hour, man, that's a tough look.
I just, man, I just, yeah, I think if you change it last minute, it makes you look worse, 100%. Because I think this, John, I know a lot of people were mad at what Tim Priester said or whatever, and like, I think there's 2 sides to that conversation. I really do. Because in journalism, when you're in those classes and getting that degree, one of the first things that your journalism professor tells you is like, hey, you can't be biased. You have to be impartial, right? So like I'm not here to throw shade at Tim Priester because I think Tim's awesome. I think he's one of the best. But that being said, with the whole Miami Notre Dame conversation, if they would have jumped Miami over Notre Dame this past weekend or this past Tuesday, I would have been so angry, right? Why? Because I'm a Notre Dame fan. I would have been upset that Notre Dame just got basically pushed out of the playoffs for Miami. I would have been so upset. But if they explained it and said, hey, a lot of the same common opponents, similar outcomes,
Head to head.
you lost head to head.
Yep.
After the last game of the season, all the data is collected. I'd be like, all right, that sucks, but like, okay. All right, I understand, but I'm going to be angry for a few weeks.
That's where I would have been as well if this happened, and that's why. But that's not the path they've done. Also, Alabama, I feel similarly about. There are arguments you could make about who Alabama's wins have been against that would make a better argument for them being at Notre Dame. But what does the guy say? Well, you know, they went for it on 4th down against that horrible team that doesn't have a coach, and we really liked that. Like, there are pro Alabama arguments that I think are better than what they're using too. So it all ends up where it's just going to be a very uncomfortable next 2 days for Notre Dame people. You're just going to be on the edge of your seat for BYU.
This is the worst.
It's so uncomfortable.
I know you get anxious. You get anxious, John, right? Like you're an anxious guy sometimes, right? I'm anxious too. I think everyone's got some forms of anxiety these days, you know. But my thing is, I love a little competitive anxiety personally. Like that's what makes football great for me. That what makes sports great. Like I want to go into a game feeling. Well, no, that's what I'm saying though. Like this competitive anxiety is great. You're going into a game, you decide your own fate, win or lose. I'm gonna live or die with the team. This weekend, this is not competitive anxiety. This is just anxiety. Like it sucks, man. Like you don't have a dog in the fight. Your outcome now is completely detailed on what others do around you, and anytime you don't have control in the situation, it sucks, man.
That's
it sucks.
You just summed it all up, man. That is it. That is the whole deal here. And then I want to go back to that 9-10 positioning you were talking about how that sets up. Here's something else I thought of, and I don't know if the committee's thought of this or not. If you flipped them back to Notre Dame 9, you would be able to avoid those first round rematches because it would have set up Notre Dame and A&M right away, and it would have been Oklahoma, Alabama right away. I don't know if they'll ever admit it, but I got a feeling they played it out and they want to avoid that. So then you could make that flip and avoid round 1 rematches. I don't know if that's a big deal to them or not, but I thought of it.
Well, I will say this is that there's got to be something, whether it's spoken in these committee meetings or if it's just internal for some people, there isn't also a thing of like, hey, what gives the best product to the viewers? Big names, big histories, that type of thing, right? And I'm not saying that's happening necessarily, but you want Notre Dame in the playoffs if you're the committee. Like you just do.
Want
you
Notre
want Notre
Dame
Dame in
and
the
Alabama
playoffs.
In for sure. They want Notre Dame and Alabama in for sure.
you want them. And if you flip it back to 9, where Notre Dame ends at 9, let's say Alabama loses even a close one to Georgia, but you say, like, hey, you lost the game, let's move back one. If Notre Dame's a 9-8 against Oklahoma, even though I think Notre Dame will go to Norman and win pretty convincingly in that football game, that is 2 blue blood programs playing in the first game of the season, right? Like that is because, I mean, count it this way, like depending on what happens in the ACC championship game, you might have a one too many group of 5 teams in there, right? So like that's going to hurt your product just overall. Like I don't know how many people are going to be chomping at the bit to watch James Madison. All due respect to James Madison play or
Yeah.
Tulane or whoever, but yeah, I think that you want Notre Dame in the playoffs. I don't think that this is some like I feel like people think like this is like a conspiracy theory to like get Notre Dame out. Like let's push it to them. You know, they're independent. We hate them. I don't think that's what's happening right now. I really don't.
Yeah. It's but man, I just it's the Notre Dameiest thing of all time, Ryan. We just find ourselves in the middle of the biggest drama somehow, some way. But I was frustrated this week because that recruiting thing should have gotten way more pub than it did. And everybody
Yep.
tried to do a bit good job. The people that cover it all the time know this is different and did a good job. It's just when the fan
Yep.
base is so on edge, there's a cap to the excitement there could be. Anything else you want to cover, Ryan? Thanks for joining on a Friday.
Yeah, no, I mean it's just unfortunate on the media side because I mean I did some superlative articles and highlighted a few of the players. Like I wanted to do more content on National Signing Day, but unfortunately we do have to do the things that people want to read. You know what I mean? And like right
Yeah.
now it's the college football playoffs. Like everyone just wants to read it. It is what it
Yep.
is, you know? So I hope that we lead. I hope on Sunday afternoon, late afternoon, I hope that we are in a very good mood and we'll be able to move forward here and have a great conversation. But regardless, man, we'll be here the next day, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Unlike Miami fans who would just go into shelter if they don't
Yeah.
make the playoffs, Notre Dame fans will be very loud one way or
Yep.
the other, depending on what happens on Sunday.
Yep. That's a very, very good point. Ryan, thanks for joining. Let everybody know where they can find and support your work.
Yep. A to Z Sports, Notre Dame. If you want to check out the content over there, I do general college football and NFL draft as well. You just follow me at Rise and Draft, though. You can see where all the content is posted there. Thank you, guys.